So the first thing is that when you are hiring an AP, you want to make sure that you are looking at three different things. And this is really true for hiring anybody, but particularly if you want to get a great AP. The first thing you need to do is you have to think about the hiring process in three sections. The first section is the attract section. And it's really the attract section is how do I attract the right people for the job? And so you want to think about not just kind of putting up a job opening and hoping the right people apply. You have to be really, really specific about how you create the job description, about how you advertise the job so that you attract the right people. And this is really important, is that you also want to repel the wrong people. Okay. So recently I was looking in a principal Facebook group that I'm a part of, and someone in the Facebook group said that she was really, or he, I don't know who it was, but this person was really struggling with an interview question about why do you want to work at this school? And they were saying the reason that they were struggling is because it's not about the school, it's about the position for them. Okay. Well, listen, if it's just about I want to be an AP somewhere and not about I really want to serve these students and this population, you're probably not going to be the right fit for a builder. So the first thing you want to do is in the way that you advertise the job, in the way that you announce the job opening, you want to write that in a way that attracts the right people, but also repels people who are just there because they just want any AP position. Okay. We'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. So the next thing is then how do you screen, right? How do you sift through all the people who kind of come in to, your world? And then how do you screen them so that you get the right person? Here, what do you need to do so that you can quickly sift through all the applications? How do you conduct the interview in a way that helps you know that you have the right person? Okay. And then the third thing is that how do you onboard? How do you how do you set them up for success? And that process is a specific process that you're going to use. Now, I'm going to do a whole episode on the onboarding piece in detail with, graphics and everything else. So look out for that. But we do need to think about that and be very intentional, because what we do a lot of times is we hire an AP, we give them like the first day tour. Here's the copy machine. Here's your office. Here's some things about our school. And then we kind of throw them in the deep end, and we're not onboarding them properly, and we're not setting them up for success. So you have to do that. If you do these three things, if you are careful about how you attract people, if you're careful about how you screen people, and then careful about how you onboard people, this will guarantee that not only do you get the right person, but that person thrives in your building. So let's break them down, each one. Now to do that, I'm going to use the buildership model, right? Because one of the reasons I love the buildership model so much is that the answer to most questions that I have around how to do something in a school, if I don't know the answer to it, I just go back to the buildership model and it has the answer. And so for those of you who are unfamiliar with the buildership model, the first thing that you need to know is that inside the buildership model, at the center of it is your school success story, your 100% vision. You're achieving that, right? That's the heart of why we do this work. And in order to do that, there are four things that you need. The first thing that you need, if you're going to achieve your vision, is you need a compelling purpose. You need a purpose so compelling that people are committed to the purpose, and the purpose drives the work. And if you don't have that, then you're not going to make it. And that's usually identified by core values, the vision, and the mission. The next thing you need is you need committed people, right? So if you have a compelling purpose, but people aren't committed to it and they don't have the will and skill they need to do that, they're not going to move your school forward. And then the third thing you need is you need a clear pathway. I have a great purpose. I know where I want to go. I have people committed to it. But now, how are we going to get there? What's the right pathway for our school? If you don't have that, you're not going to achieve your vision. And then the last thing is you need a concrete plan. How am I going to stick to that pathway going forward? So if you want an AP who is going to move you to your school towards that 100% vision, then they need to be a part of that compelling purpose. They need to be equipped to help you encourage that commitment in your people. They need to be good at thinking about a pathway and good at sticking with a plan. So you might as well screen for that. So let me show you how that works. Okay, so let's talk about Attract first. Again, if you want the workbook, go to the YouTube page. We'll also put a link to a page where you can get this workbook in the show notes at schoolleadershipreimagined.com. Okay, so when you are thinking about attracting, the first thing you have to do is you have to think about purpose. And this is really about how you can sell your school. Why would somebody want to work with you? And the big selling points for your school, after you go through, here's a little bit about us, who we are as a school, here are our demographics. This is going to be the thing that attracts and repels your people, your vision, your mission, and your core values. So in the job description, you're going to put, like, we're this school, we're located here. This is kind of the student population we serve. We're an elementary school. We have 250 kids, whatever. Okay. That stuff is there. But then you're going to say, and our vision is that 100% of our students, blah, blah, blah. Now, immediately, there are going to be some people who see that and be like, 100%, y'all are crazy. And they're going to move on to the next thing. You want that because you don't want anybody coming into your school who doesn't believe in that. There's some people who, when you look at it, they're going to say, oh, you know what? Mission, core values, the vision, that speaks to me. And those people are going to want to work for you. So put that in your job announcement, put that all over the place. This is who you are. If they're doing research about you, they should see it on your website. You want to put your vision, mission, core values everywhere because those are going to attract the right people and repel the wrong people. They're going to attract the people who share your purpose. They're going to repel the people who don't. Okay. The next thing is, then you want to put a section in your job description that says about you. And you're going to describe who is the ideal person. And you're going to describe that person in two ways. First of all, you're going to describe what is their will, and then what is their skill that you're looking for. So you want to be somebody who feels passionate about helping every child succeed. Someone who who is willing to roll up their sleeves and support, someone who believes in teachers, like those are the things. Who are they in terms of their beliefs? Who are they in terms of what drives and motivates them? You're going to put that in a job description. And then the second thing you're going to do is you're going to describe the skills. Someone who is really good at giving teachers feedback. Someone who has experience designing professional development for teachers. Someone who is adept at being accountable and helping others be accountable to the work. Someone who is really good at building a strong culture. Now, again, where am I getting those things? Right here, the Buildership model, feedback, support, accountability, and culture. Those are the big skills that I need in order to help me achieve this committed people in my staff. So those are the skills you're going to put in the in the job description. All right. When it comes to pathway, we're looking at what's the entire interview process look like. So you're going to put this in the description as well. So you'll say about the process. That'll be a section. And then you'll put, we're going to be interviewing for the next 2 weeks. And after we interview, then we're going to call some people in, or we're going to be screening resumes for the next 2 weeks. And then we'll give you a call if we are interested in interviewing you. You'll come to an interview. You're going to interview with a principal. And then if you have a second interview, you're going to interview with a team, whatever your process is, you're going to lay it out so people know what to expect for you. And this is the pathway to getting a job at your school. And then finally, the plan. What do you want them to do if they're interested? So you'll say, what's next? If you're interested, send your resume electronically. Do you want a cover letter? Do you want them to fill out a form online? What are your things that you're going to do? Steps 1, 2, 3. Okay. So your job description is going to have an about us section. It's going to have an about you section. It's going to have an about the process section, and then a what's next section. You can do this short in a paragraph. You can do it in a longer job description, but you need these things. When you write your job description this way, it attracts the right people and it repels the wrong people. And so then you have a better pool of people who are applying to your school. Plus, it makes your school stand out. Your job description should express who you are as a school so that you can attract the right people to your school. Okay, so that's the first thing. Now, when it comes to screening, again, you're going to follow the same format: purpose, people, pathway, plan. So when you're screening in the interview, first, you're going to have some purpose questions. Now, I need to give a shout out to Ashley Edwards, who is a builder inside of BU. She has mastered this. And she says that when she conducts an interview this way, she has people who are crying in the interview. They're saying, I've never been interviewed this way before. They want to work with her school. They connect. She's getting better candidates. She feels more confident going in. It's just been amazing. So I'm telling you, this can transform the interview process. So the first thing is you want to ask purpose questions. You don't want to ask questions like, what's your vision? What is your mission? What are your core values? But you do want to structure questions that help get at their vision so that you can see what you're looking for here is you're looking for alignment. Okay. So does their vision align with yours? So if you have 100% vision, you want to ask them questions about, all right, we have 100% vision at this school. What does that mean to you? What does it look like? What would these are the things that you're going to be doing. How do these things help get to the 100% vision? What can you do to help us get, things like that. So you want to ask vision questions. Then the mission is about the why, right? So you're asking them about their why. Why do they do this work? To see if it aligns with your big why in your vision, in your mission. And then the last thing is the core values question. You want to ask questions that get at their core values. What you don't want to do is say, here are our core values. Do these feel non-negotiable to you? Because, if somebody really wants a job, they can lie. They can say, yeah. But you want to talk about what's non-negotiable for you and see if their non-negotiables contradict your non-negotiables. They're not a fit. Or do they align? Okay, so those are the purpose questions. The next set of questions you're going to do, these are people questions. And this is really getting at their will and their skill. So the questions that you want to ask around will are going to be questions that are really about, you can ask questions like, okay, what's their ideal day? How do they like to work? What motivates them? So that you can get at their will driver. And then the skill questions are going to be asking deeper questions about, tell me a time when you did this. They have certain skills that you have certain skills that you want. How do you give feedback? How do you offer support? How do you provide accountability? And how do you build culture? You want to ask questions. Give me an example of a time when the culture was starting to lag. What did you do that shifted the culture? So experience questions that see what is their skill level around those four things: feedback, support, accountability, and culture, which are critical to an administrative role. Okay. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to ask pathway questions. And the pathway questions are questions that we often don't ask. And then we're mad later on, because I always say people hire for skill and fire for will. And so these pathway questions help you go a little bit deeper on the will side. So you're going to ask questions that check to see how in alignment are they with your goals, the goals that you have for your school, right? So you might say, in the next year, we're trying to increase the number of our seventh graders who are reading at grade level. Right now, we're at 64%. And in order to get to 100% of all of our kids reading at or above grade level, seventh graders were really stuck. So that's something that as an AP in this school, you will be working on in great detail. Can you give me a sense of how you might go about solving that problem? Okay. So those are ways you're trying to see, how do they think about the goals that you have in your school? This is so important. A lot of people ask like hypothetical scenario questions, and, I've taught that before, and certainly you want to do that. But what I love now more than ever is to ask questions that are specific about, how will you solve a problem? So I take a problem that I'm currently dealing with, that if they were in that position, they would have to deal with as well. And I ask them, how would they solve that problem? And my thing is, if I ask that question during the interview and they teach me something that I hadn't thought about, they have a perspective that I'm like, that actually helps me solve a problem, then that's a good sign that is going to be a good person to work with on a long-term basis, because I'm learning from this person. This person is teaching me something. So after you do this, when you ask this question enough, it's going to not just help you screen candidates, but it can actually help you start thinking about your problems differently, getting other people's opinions on problems you're actually solving. So the interview becomes like a win-win. So I love this question. And I think that we don't do enough. We do all these scenario-based questions and hypothetical questions. Quite frankly, we don't really care about the answer in the same way that we do when it's something we're actually dealing with. So the best way to tell whether somebody's going to be a good fit for your school is to give them a problem that your school is currently dealing with that's getting in the way of your goals and ask them to grapple with it. Ask them to try to figure it out, because then you can see in reality how well they're going to be working towards helping your school. Okay. So that's a your goals problem. And then you also want to talk about their goals. Okay. So this is really important because you need to figure out like where are they headed? What are their goals, and how, and whether or not working in your school makes sense for where they want to go. I see this a lot where, especially when you're interviewing with APs, there's some people who want to be APs for life. There's some people who are just trying out administration, not sure if they're going to like it. There's some people who want to be APs because they're on track to being, they're on a pathway, they're aspiring principals. There's some people who are interviewing for your job because they hate where they work now. And I want to get to that, right? Like I want to know that, like, what is something that you want to do? Where is it that you want to go? And is that something that I can support? Is that something I can help them? Is this something you're going to be at for 2 years and then you're leaving? And that's not a bad thing, but I need to know that going in, especially so that we can both set our expectations. And then the last one, speaking of expectations, a process question. So what are your expectations? So I talk about, here is my expectation for the position, and does that jibe with you? And then you ask them, what are your expectations? So I like to ask people, how do you like to work? What's your ideal work day? How do you like getting feedback? How do you prefer to give feedback? What communication rhythm works for you? It's really important to make sure that we're a good fit and that they're going to be a good fit for our culture. We don't spend enough time talking about expectations during the interview process, and we get people hired, and then we start talking about expectations when it's too late. You should be doing that in the interview process. Okay, so that's the screening, purpose, people, pathway, plan. Now, once you do that, now it's time to onboard people. And again, purpose, people, pathway, plan. So when you're onboarding people, first thing you have to do is you have to make sure that very early on, once they are there, they have the job, that you are getting them connected to and committed to your vision, your mission, and your core values. And so what are you doing in the onboarding process to reinforce it, to help them understand what that looks like, and to make sure that they get recommitted to those and see the connection between the work that they're doing and your bigger vision, mission, and core values? The second thing is that what are going to be their success measures? See, what we don't do often is we say, we get a AP and we say, all right, now that you're here, these are your duties. You're going to be doing lunch duty. You're going to be doing the duty schedule for teachers. You'll do some observations and write-ups for the 7th grade team. You need to be at team meetings. You're in charge of special ed and the math department. But we don't tell them, what does success look like in those roles? This is so important. Those of you in BU, you know this. We write success measures. Level 4 is where you can find all that information for those of you in BU, where we do the team architecture and you create success measures for everybody on your team. And sitting down with people and going through what success looks like can really set them up to be successful in their job. And then for pathway, what are the onboarding steps? First day, we should have a plan for how we're going to onboard them. And I like to look at first day, the first week, what can they expect? The first month, and the first quarter. It takes a quarter to get somebody onboarded properly. And so again, I'm going to do a whole podcast about this. Look out for that. But in the meantime, what do you need to do to onboard people, and what's that pathway look like? You need a plan for that. Okay, man, pathway for that. And then for the plan, this is the process. How are you going to follow up? What's our meeting cadence going to look like? What's our communication cadence going to look like? How often will you be checking in on them? Giving people clarity around that, really important. Again, I'll talk you all through it in the onboarding episode. Okay. So here's a big thing that I want you to do now. Before you hire your next AP or anybody in a leadership position, you need to have plans for the 3 phases of the process. Think through carefully, how are you going to attract people? Think through, how are you going to screen and interview people to figure out the right people for the job? And then how are you going to onboard people? And I'm telling you, if you do this and you have this process planned out ahead of time, it helps you attract the right people to your organization and repel the wrong people. It helps you use the interview process so that both of you walk away feeling like that time was really valuable. And it also helps you use the interview process to find the right candidate, the person not just who looks good on paper or who can interview well, but who's going to be the right fit for your school. And then the onboarding process helps you set people up for success. So attract, screen, and onboard. And then the way you figure out what to do for each of those: purpose, people, pathway, plan. If you fill this out and you have the plan, you plan this out before you begin to start recruiting for APs or anybody in a leadership position, I promise you that you will find the right person because you approach the process like a builder. I'll talk to you next time.